Hello, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about stimming. I haven't researched the classic definition of stimming, but stimming is almost like an involuntary reaction to your environment or to the fact that you're getting close to being overloaded. It's kind of almost like a little autistic warning sign. And some people apparently do stimming to comfort themselves when they're getting stressed or feeling anxious. And I had to think about what would be classified as stimming in my own context. And I went on a few sites and I read a few little things, and then I realised I do actually have quite a few stims that I regularly roll out that have always been part of my weird and quirky character, I suppose, up to now. And I don't do many of them in public. I do a lot of them in front of my partner. And a stim can be a physical body movement, it can be a comforting action, it can be making noises, and that's a big one with me. I think noises. I'm always making weird noises, constantly doing it. I will just start randomly beatboxing sometimes, and I don't even like beatboxing. I just get stuck on a sound in my head, and then I just sort of blurt it out and repeat it quite a few times. And normally, if it's a phrase, sometimes I get a phrase stuck in my head that I've heard on the radio or on the TV or someone else say, and the word or the pronunciation of the word has stuck with me, and I will say that phrase over and over again. Quite often I use regional accents to do it, or even national accents. I come up with just random phrases sometimes. One of my biggest stims, which now looking back on myself, now I've been diagnosed, is I've got this thing going on where I talk gibberish. And for some of the older people, you might remember in the old black and white Carry On films, there was a guy that used to talk. He used to say words and put them in the wrong order and do it very subtly. So what he's actually saying makes no sense at all. But because if you're not listening properly, you're hearing key words, you start listening, and then when you listen, you realise you're talking gibberish. And it's something that I do an awful lot. I'll just come out with random words, and I will deliver it in a style that makes the person think I'm actually talking to them about something serious, and then it'll just be rubbish. And I had never thought why I did that. I've done that for as long as I can remember, talking this gibberish language. I've also got this sounds like I'm a right weirdo. Well, I am. I've got the certificate and everything. One of the weird things I do is I speak in foreign languages. But I can't speak foreign languages. But I can pass sometimes to someone who sounds like they're talking in a foreign language. If I do a Russian accent or a French accent or Spanish, I can make the sounds and pronounce the parts of the words to sound convincing to someone who doesn't actually know what Spanish sounds like properly, or German. And I do that a lot, and that's still talking gibberish as well. And I never really analysed why I'd done that until I'd started to look into the stims. Other things that I do quite a lot is I do a lot of moving my legs or rocking my head Sometimes I don't realise I'm doing it. I like, if I'm in a restaurant, which is normally a very stressful place for me to be, I've noticed that I will fold a paper napkin in a certain way every time, and I will do it every time I have a meal, and I fold it exactly the same way, and I will just play with that napkin until my meal is finished and I leave, because I think that's I'm anxious because I'm in a place where there's some unfamiliar noises, sounds, smells. I'm having to interact with people. I've got people sitting all around me watching me eat, which is weird for me. People to watch me eat, or me to be sitting around watching other people eat. To me, eating's quite a private thing. I don't really understand why people get enjoyment of sitting in a big room and eating in front of other people. So what other little stims have I got? I mean, my mother always used to say that I used to just carry on talking all the time, and that was probably a similar thing. That was probably a kind of a minor stim, just constantly being chatty sometimes. I think another one of mine is I just come out of random questions sometimes for people. Like proper random questions, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but just ask them a random question and throw them off guard, and it kind of like, I don't know, I get some kind of satisfaction or comfort out of doing that, throwing people off their guard, unsurprised, doing it out of the blue. What other physical stims would I have? I didn't realise, I read somewhere that people with Aspergers and autism, they get a weird sense of comfort out of picking scabs and picking skin, picking spots. I do that quite a lot, picking at things on my body. Always getting told to stop picking my head, or if I've got a scab, I have to pick it off. And what other little things? I've got little routines and stims. Like if I'm in I've normally, whatever room in the house I'm in, I've got something that I will go to and play with in my hands, to occupy my hands. If I'm listening or doing something else, I will be playing with this one object. I've got various ones around the house that I do that with, that I hadn't even really thought about I was doing until I sort of looked into this stimming. I mean, classic examples of stimming in people with profound autism, especially in younger people, is the flapping of hands. That's a big one, and they cover their heads or they flap their hands above their head. That's a classic stimming sign. That's basically, you're full up. You're overflowing now. All your senses are full up. You can't take no more, and it's kind of like an involuntary body reaction that you do as a reaction to that sensation of feeling overloaded. And I suppose having Aspergers and not being at the other end of the autism scale, these things manifest themselves in different ways, and everybody is different, and everybody has their own little stims and their own little traits and triggers. I think a lot of mine is, I've often thought I'd got Tourette's, to be honest with you. That is something that I'd actually seriously thought I had for quite a few years, a mild form of Tourette's, where I do if I'm driving, I do seem to just have a filthy mouth. I will come out with profanities and rude sayings and out of context, not at people, not directly to them, but just in general inside the car, inside my little bubble. I have a propensity to be to be rude and swear. So that's another weird one. But I think mine are verbal ones. Mine, I don't have too many. I don't think I have too many profound. I mean, I've got my obvious stroking of my beard. I do that. That's a subconscious thing I do all the time. That's probably a stim. But yeah, I think mine are vocal. I'm always talking rubbish, gibberish, talking in foreign accents. Hearing a word that tickles my fancy and just repeating it in different styles and different deliveries and with different accents. So yeah, stims. I'd never really thought of them until I got diagnosed, and how wide and varied they can be. They're not just the classic flapping of hands or the rocking of the heads. So yeah, I thought that might be interested me anyway. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.